Hey, third grade. Today we're going to talk about weather tools. Tools that meteorologists or scientists who study weather, tools that they use to help study the weather. So we're going to watch a video and then we're going to take some notes. So make sure you have your journal and a pencil. When you're ready, go ahead and hit play and the video will play. Hey, third grade. Today we're going to continue talking about weather. Yesterday, you and your class talked about the difference between weather and climate. Today, we're going to watch a video about weather. We're going to learn things. We're going to learn about tools that help us measure weather. We're going to learn about meteorologists. We're going to learn about all sorts of things. So listen close.
What do you know about the weather? Suppose you want to plan a swim party. How will you know if it's going to be a good day for swimming? The weather might be perfect right now, but what about later today? Or tomorrow? Or next week?
That's easy. We can check the weather report.
That's true. But did you ever stop to think how the weather report is able to tell you so much about the weather?
I guess the people who put the weather report together must really do their homework. They probably study the weather.
That's exactly what they do.
But how do they do it?
Sounds like a good question for our kid weather watchers around the world. Learning about the weather is just like learning about anything else. You have to investigate. Are you ready? Okay then, let's go. When you think of weather, what comes to mind?
Rain, snow, wind, sunshine, thunder and lightning.
Right. All of these are part of the weather. And if we break it down to its simplest ingredients, air plus sunshine plus water equals weather. It works like this. The sun heats up the earth, and the warm earth heats up both the air and water. Some of that water turns into a gas and becomes part of the air. From there, anything can happen. Any kind of weather, that is. It really depends on how much water is in the air and how much the sun heats up the earth.
And that's what the people who make their weather reports study?
Yes, but there's a lot more to it than that. And that's what we're going to investigate. The study of weather is called meteorology. And the scientists who do this studying are called meteorologists. Predicting what the weather will be in the future is a science. It's not too hard to tell what the weather will be like in 5 minutes, or even an hour from now. Just look around. It'll usually be pretty much the same as it is right now. But try predicting the weather tomorrow, or the next day, or even next week. That's a different story. If you drop a stick in a stream, can you tell exactly where it will go? It's not too tough to guess where it will go right after you drop it. You can see which way the water is flowing and what rocks it might bump into along the way. But as the stick floats further downstream, it's much harder to tell exactly where it will go. The current might change, or there might be something blocking the way. To know for sure, you'd have to study the stream up and down and drop the stick over and over, noting where it goes each time. The same is true of forecasting the weather. Meteorologists don't just guess. They study the patterns of the air and the temperature over long periods of time. And they look at storms happening in other parts of the world so they can help us to know what weather we can expect in the future. Meteorologists also teach, do research, and study the quality of our air. Since meteorologists study the weather, they spend a lot of time studying the atmosphere, the blanket of air that surrounds our planet.
That makes sense. After all, air is a big part of the weather.
Right. If it weren't for the Earth's atmosphere, there wouldn't be any weather. Or any of us, for that matter. We couldn't survive without the atmosphere. It gives us air to breathe and helps keep heat near the surface of the planet. Meteorologists use special tools to measure things in our atmosphere that can give clues about the weather.
So what kinds of things can weather watchers like us measure?
Well, for one thing, you can measure the temperature of the air.
For that, I bet we could use a thermometer.
That's right. A thermometer is a simple but very important weather tool. Knowing the temperature outside lets us know whether it's warm enough for a pool party or cold enough to play in the snow. So even though we can't see it, all air is stuff. It's made of tiny particles of gases like oxygen and nitrogen. That's why we can feel the wind blow. Some of those particles are water vapor, moisture in the air. How much moisture is in the air is called humidity. The more water vapor or moisture there is in the air, the higher the humidity and the stickier you feel. When humidity is low, you feel drier and more comfortable. Moisture in the air is what forms clouds and can eventually turn into rain or snow. So it's important to keep track of the humidity. To do that, meteorologists use a hygrometer, a device that tells them how much moisture is in the air. Did you ever have a bad hair day? Well, it may have been caused by humidity. Human hair is very sensitive to moisture in the air. That's why some hygrometers use a single strand of human hair to measure humidity. Besides hair, another natural humidity gauge is a pine cone. In dry weather, pine cones open up. But in damp weather, the scales swell up and close.
I understand that there is moisture in the air, but what I want to know is this. How does moisture get into the air in the first place?
It works like this. The sun's warmth can cause water in oceans, lakes, and streams to heat up and change into water vapor. This process is called evaporation. The water vapor becomes part of the air. The warmer the air, the more water vapor it tends to have in it. As moist air rises into the sky, it begins to cool off. As it cools, the water vapor changes back into liquid water. That's called condensation. You know condensation, like the water on the bathroom mirror after a steamy shower or bath.
Hey, that's sort of the opposite of evaporation.
Exactly. That water in the air is what creates clouds. Eventually, the water in clouds can fall back to Earth as
Rain, snow, or ice.
You got it. That's called precipitation. This process of water evaporating into the air, forming clouds, and falling back to the Earth is happening all the time around the world. It never ends. It's called the water cycle and is one of the most important things that meteorologists study.
I'd say that's worth studying.
On to the next important thing meteorologists study about the atmosphere: air pressure. Pressure is the weight of air.
Hold on. Air has weight?
It sure does. Remember, air is made of tiny particles. Even though those particles are too small to see, they do have weight.
And since the atmosphere is all around the whole world, that must mean that every place has air pressure.
That's true. But it's important to know that air pressure can be very different in different places. Remember, air pressure is the weight of the atmosphere pressing on us. There is lower air pressure on the top of a mountain than there is on a place down low near the ocean. The more atmosphere above a place, the more air pressing down. So the more air pressure.
Okay, now for the big question. Why do meteorologists need to measure air pressure?
Differences in air pressure are what make air move. Meteorologists know that air tends to move away from areas of high pressure toward areas of low pressure. That moving air is what we call wind. Wind is what blows the clouds from place to place all around the world.
And we know clouds can make rain.
When rain and clouds move out and make way for a sunny day, we have wind to thank.
So wind is a good thing. But what about when it's sunny? And then a storm moves in.
Well, that's wind too. In fact, there are all kinds of winds, from gentle breezes to strong storm winds, even hurricane force winds.
Whoa, that looks like too much of a good thing. How do meteorologists measure the wind?
There are two important things we need to know about the wind: which direction it's blowing from and how fast it's blowing. Meteorologists use a weather vane or windsock to tell the direction wind is blowing. This weather vane is pointing west. That means the wind is blowing from the west. So it's a west wind. To measure wind speed, meteorologists use a device called an anemometer. Wind direction and speed can be clues about where air masses will move and how soon they'll get there.
Okay, third grade, I hope you enjoyed our video. We're going to talk now some more about these specific weather tools that you listened to and learned about today. So click on the next video or keep going on this video to learn more about weather tools. I hope you enjoyed the video. So now we're going to take our notes. So get out your science journal. At the top of it, we're going to write weather tools. And just like always, we're going to write the date. Today is Friday, August 21st. Nope, no it's not. It's Friday, August 28th. Okay, so now we've written our date. So now we're going to explore some tools. So you're going to watch, it's going to pop up on the screen. You're going to talk about it, and then we're going to come back here, and we're going to take notes, okay? This is a thermometer. It measures air temperature. See that red line? It goes all the way up to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit and about 20 degrees Celsius. That red line tells you how hot or cold it is outside. All right, that was all about a thermometer. So let's write and draw about our thermometer. So the first thing you're going to write is thermometer. And that video told us that thermometers measure air temperature. Now remember, to write like a third grader, you guys are starting from the line, you guys are not skipping lines, you guys are going from one side of the paper to the other. You guys are capitalizing what needs to be capitalized. Okay, so let's draw a picture of a thermometer. I'm going to draw a rectangle, and then the inside, the bottom is kind of like a circle, and then it goes up in a point. We have some numbers. I drew real tiny: 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Now let's color it in. We're going to pretend it's 80 degrees outside. All right, your next weather tool is up next. This is a wind vane. It shows you which direction the wind is blowing in. For example, if the triangle arrow is pointing at north, then the wind is going from the south to the north. All right, now it's time to take notes on our wind vane. So you're going to write wind vane. And the wind vane shows wind direction. And just like the other day, if you need to pause this video so that you can catch up, go ahead and pause this video, write what you need to write, and then hit play again. Now, let's draw a picture of our wind vane. So here's a little stick, and there's kind of a big X on top. And each of these X's is going to be a little arrow. But we need to know which way it's pointing. So we're going to label north, south, east, and west. There we go. There's our wind vane. This is an anemometer. It measures wind speed by spinning around. Those little cups trap the wind and it makes it spin around like a merry-go-round. And it tells you how fast the wind is going. All right, now an anemometer. It's a tough word to spell, so pay attention. A-N-E-M-O-M-E-T-E-R. Anemometer. Yes, I can't even say it. An anemometer measures wind speed. Measures wind speed. Let's not forget our picture. So this is going to be kind of a weird looking picture. It kind of starts off like our wind vane, but we're going to draw those little cups on the side. It doesn't have to be perfect, just whatever you need to know how an anemometer looks. Whatever drawing you need to help you understand it. All right, one more. This is a rain gauge. It measures precipitation like water or snow or sleet or hail. It collects water just like a bucket or a cup, and it tells you how many inches it has rained or sleeted or snowed. It measures precipitation. The last weather tool was the rain gauge, and I actually have a rain gauge here. So the rain, you'd stick this in the ground and the rain would go up and up and up. So let's write it down. A rain gauge measures precipitation. That's another hard word to spell, so pay close attention. Precipitation. Precipitation. And that is rain or snow, sleet or hail. Let's draw a picture. I'm gonna add some water to my rain gauge. And there we go. Those are the weather tools that you're gonna need to be a good meteorologist. Make sure you have all of these written down in your journal. We'll see you next time.